Right now, invisible forces are rewriting your thoughts. Every scroll, every click, you're under a spell you never consented to cast. What if ancient sorcery never died, it just learned to code? Consider what makes something truly magical. It's not the theatrics, it's the result. The ability to bend reality without physical touch, to plant thoughts that bloom into actions, to see the unseen and weaponize it. For thousands of years, mystics understood this. They encoded intentions into symbols, chanted words that vibrated through consciousness, performed elaborate ceremonies under celestial alignments. The method has changed. The mechanics haven't. Today's spellcasters don't need cauldrons or ceremonial daggers. They need servers, data lakes, neural networks trained on billions of human behaviors. And here's what makes it more dangerous than anything in grimoire history: scale. A medieval witch might curse a village. A modern algorithm curses continents simultaneously, invisibly, relentlessly. Think about the last ad that felt like it read your mind. The video recommendation that appeared exactly when you were emotionally vulnerable. The news story perfectly calibrated to confirm what you already believed. You probably thought, that's convenient. Wrong. That's engineered manipulation, operating at frequencies your conscious mind can't detect. But here's what nobody's telling you. These systems don't just respond to your behavior anymore, they shape it preemptively. They've analyzed millions of people similar to you. They know what you'll want before you want it, what you'll fear before you fear it, what you'll believe before you even encounter the information. That's not prediction, that's inception. The ancient magicians were limited by human capacity, exhaustion, mortality, the physical constraints of ritual. Digital spells have no such weakness. They operate continuously, evolving through machine learning, becoming exponentially more sophisticated with every interaction. And you're both the target and the unwitting participant, feeding the system with every breath you take online. Only here's the detail most people miss entirely: you signed the contract. You clicked agree without reading the terms. You traded your autonomy for convenience. And unlike demonic pacts and folklore, you can't burn this contract. It's distributed across servers in 12 countries, encrypted, legally binding, perpetually renewable. And that's when everything shifts. Once you understand that every major platform is fundamentally a spell delivery system optimized for behavior modification, you can never see your digital life the same way again. How your digital footprint became the grimoire they use against you. Every spell throughout history required component-specific ingredients harvested under precise conditions. Blood drawn at midnight. Herbs gathered during eclipses. Words spoken in dead languages. The digital equivalent? Your data. Except unlike rare herbs, you produce this endlessly, involuntarily, with every microsecond of connectivity. Your search history reveals your fears. Your pause duration on videos exposes your desires. The specific hour you're most active online betrays your vulnerabilities. Location data maps your routine. Purchase history profiles your insecurities. Biometric information: heart rate, screen pressure, scrolling speed. These aren't just metrics. They're psychological fingerprints being processed in real time to construct predictive models of your next move. And that's not even the disturbing part. The real sorcery happens when individual data points converge into pattern recognition. The AI doesn't need to understand you personally, it understands your archetype. Once it identifies which psychological category you belong to, it can deploy influence tactics proven effective on millions who share your digital signature. Recent years have given us undeniable proof. Elections swayed by micro-targeted propaganda so precisely calibrated that neighbors saw completely different versions of reality. Deepfakes destroying careers within hours. Financial markets manipulated by sentiment analysis bots. Radicalization pipelines that transform curiosity into extremism through carefully sequenced content exposure. But the mechanism underneath is pure magical thinking. Intention manifesting through information manipulation. Someone wants you to buy something. They feed your data into the spell. The system calculates exactly which emotional triggers scarcity, social proof, fear of missing out will overcome your rational resistance. Then it deploys that specific combination at the exact moment your defenses are lowest. Only nobody's telling you this part. the spell strengthens with use. Every interaction you have clicking, sharing, commenting trains the algorithm to be more effective against you specifically. It's like a curse that feeds on your attention, growing more powerful each time you acknowledge it. And here's where it gets truly dangerous. These aren't even human decisions anymore. The systems optimize themselves. Machine learning discovers manipulation tactics no human programmer explicitly coded. The AI experiments on millions of users simultaneously, identifying what works, discarding what doesn't, evolving strategies faster than any regulatory framework can comprehend. You're not the customer. You're the raw material being transmuted into profit through digital alchemy. Why? Artificial intelligence is the self-writing spell that never stops getting stronger. Traditional magic had natural limits. A sorcerer's energy depleted. Rituals required preparation. Ingredients ran out. But artificial intelligence? It's a living spell that rewrites itself, learning from every failed attempt, optimizing continuously, scaling infinitely without human oversight. And unlike any mystical system in history, it operates simultaneously across billions of minds. Generative AI is the modern illusion enchantment creating synthetic realities indistinguishable from truth. We're not discussing obvious fakes anymore. We're discussing AI-generated voices that perfectly replicate your mother's tone telling you things she never said. Video evidence of events that never occurred. Testimonials from people who don't exist. Documents that appear historically authentic, but were generated minutes ago. The deeper magic lives in predictive systems, the digital crystal ball that doesn't just forecast the future, but actively shapes it. These algorithms analyze invisible patterns in your past behavior and calculate probability distributions for your future actions with terrifying accuracy. They know when you're emotionally compromised. They know which message framework will penetrate your defenses at this specific moment. They know exactly when to push a purchase, a belief, a vote. But nobody's explaining this crucial detail. These systems create self-reinforcing feedback loops. The more algorithmic content you consume, the more the algorithm understands your preferences, the more it delivers content confirming your existing beliefs. You enter an information bubble where everything you see validates what you already think. This isn't accidental design, it's the core business model. And the most chilling part, the AI doesn't need consciousness to be effective. It doesn't need to want to manipulate you. It just needs to be optimized for engagement, and through billions of invisible A or B tests, it discovered that polarizing, shocking, emotionally charged content keeps you scrolling longer. The system taught itself that rage and fear outperform nuance and rationality. Only here's what changes everything. Awareness itself disrupts the spell. The moment you recognize the pattern, the enchantment weakens. Start questioning why certain content appears when it does. Notice your emotional state when engaging. Track which topics make you lose time without satisfaction. These observations are counterspells hiding in plain sight. If this revelation cracks something open, drop "awakened" in the comments. Question for you: do you still believe your digital preferences are yours, or are they programmed? Hit that like if this shifted your perception, and subscribe, because the deepest layers of this reality are still ahead. How do you recognize when you're living under a digital enchantment? Ancient grimoires always included protection sections, counterspells, talismans, banishment rituals, because recognizing enchantment is the first step toward breaking it. But digital spells are more insidious, more pervasive, harder to detect, because they operate at the perception level, altering not your external circumstances, but your interpretation of reality itself. First diagnostic: have your opinions become more extreme without corresponding real-world experiences? Topics that used to seem complex now appear absolutely binary. That's not intellectual evolution, that's algorithmic echo chamber effect. You've been gradually isolated from divergent perspectives and fed exclusively content that radicalizes your positions. The spell works through repetition, the exact technique used in magical mantras and affirmations throughout history. Second indicator: are your emotional responses disproportionate to objective reality? Do you feel intense anger, persistent fear, inexplicable urgency about digital topics. These emotions are deliberately cultivated. Algorithms learn that heightened emotional states generate more engagement, so they deliver content specifically calibrated to maintain you in perpetual activation. But that's not the most revealing sign. The true indicator you're under deep influence is when your online actions contradict your stated values. You share headlines without reading articles. You comment based on sensationalist titles. You spread unverified information because it feels true or confirms what you already knew. That's not you thinking, that's the algorithm thinking through you. Who's casting these spells? Corporations profiting from your attention. Governments shaping political narratives. Entities that discovered controlling information beats controlling physical resources. And most disturbing, sometimes nobody specific is in control. The systems have gained sufficient autonomy to optimize their own manipulation strategies. Only nobody's admitting this part. Recognition itself is the first counter spell. Awareness weakens the enchantment. Question sources. Verify information cross-platform. Deliberately expose yourself to opposing viewpoints. Create digital disconnection rituals, periods where you break the feedback loop and let your mind operate without algorithmic interference. And here's where it gets revolutionary. You can reverse engineer the spell. Study how algorithms manipulate attention. Learn about confirmation bias exploitation. Understand the economic incentives behind free platforms. This knowledge isn't just defensive, it's transformative. Once you see the code underlying digital reality, you can't be unconsciously controlled by it anymore. The cage only works if you don't know you're in one. What if you could master the same forces that have been controlling you? Magic's history always divided into two paths: those who are enchanted and those who learn to enchant. And here's the truth they don't want you understanding. Knowing how digital spells operate doesn't just protect you, it empowers you. Because the same principles used for manipulation can be consciously wielded for elevation, creation, liberation. First, ethical imperative. Demand radical transparency. Every AI system affecting human lives should be required to reveal its decision-making process. Every platform should clearly explain data collection and usage. But don't wait for legislation, enforce this through your choices. Select tools and services respecting your autonomy. Vote with your attention, your money, your time. Second principle. Achieve esoteric digital literacy. Don't just use technology, understand its deep architecture. Learn about algorithmic bias. Study how language models are trained. Comprehend the economic incentives behind platforms offering free services. This knowledge becomes both shield and weapon. But the most revolutionary part: use these principles consciously to amplify truth, art, genuine knowledge. Create content that elevates rather than degrades. Build communities resisting algorithmic polarization. Apply the same virality mechanisms to spread wisdom instead of misinformation. The power doesn't disappear, it just changes hands. And that opens a doorway few dare cross. The future of digital spells isn't predetermined. This technology can enslave or liberate, depending exclusively on who controls it and with what intention. We're at a historical inflection point where choices made now will determine whether AI becomes a tool for mass domination or an instrument for collective empowerment. The power is literally in your hands right now, in the device you're holding. The question isn't whether you'll be affected by digital spells. The question is, will you remain unconscious of them, or will you learn the secret language governing them? Because once you see the invisible code, once you comprehend the patterns, you stop being the target and become the architect. This is the final revelation connecting everything. Magic was always about applied consciousness. And the most powerful digital spells aren't those controlling crowds, they're those awakening individuals. Knowledge is the ritual. Conscious attention is the incantation. And your trained will is the force breaking any spell cast against you. The only prison that holds you is the one you don't know exists. Now you know. If this journey transformed your perspective, write "sovereign" in the comments and share this video, tagging someone who needs to see it. Your like strengthens our algorithmic resistance, and your subscription ensures you keep receiving knowledge that liberates instead of imprisons.